Hi, all. It's Jennifer Palmer, and welcome to the Welly Walk podcast. So, this is going to be a little episode because I have been planning a bigger episode and I've been working on it. This was the week I was going to record it, and I've had a bad cold and just haven't felt the energy, or I don't know, I've been so confused about what to do. Like, do I exercise or do I not exercise when I have a cold? I'm trying to take care of myself. I'm trying to be better at all this self-care stuff. And, do I podcast or do I not podcast? Because it can be stressful and my thoughts seem to be a bit scattered, and maybe I won't be in the best mindset to ramble. But things have just been happening that I wanted to get out there, because there's a bit of my story that I haven't been able to kind of figure in to the episode so far. And that is all the other ladies that I know that have also been diagnosed with breast cancer. And there is a very strange pattern that emerged when I was diagnosed. And I haven't mentioned it because it just seems like a big story, actually. A big story that I thought, the New York Times might be interested in. At least I was interested. I got very Nancy Drew-ish about this because as the puzzle pieces started to kind of fall in place, it was like, this can't just all be coincidental. There has to be something causational. Is that causational? Is that a word? Causal? I don't know. What's the word? Anyway, there must be something causing this. So remember my friend that I said had posted about checking your breasts, and she's been dealing with her breast cancer for, 5 years. She got it during COVID, and very regularly posting, especially with pictures of her having chemo, check your breasts. And that's why I checked my breast initially. And so she really, I have her to thank for me catching it so early and not having to go through chemo and radiation and all that. And this is why I'm very adamant on this PR on me telling you over and over again, please check your breasts. And once I posted a picture of me after my mastectomy, urging people to do their checks, my other housemate reached out because my friends in America knew about my situation until I posted on Instagram about this. And she reached out, and she had also been diagnosed with breast cancer just after my other friend. And then another friend reached out, and she had been recently diagnosed, maybe 6 years ago or something like that. I can't remember. And then my neighbor came to my door and knocked on it. And she said, my Pilates teacher has just been diagnosed with breast cancer and she's freaking out. Would you talk to her about it? And then even more recently, I was walking down the path from school, and another one of the mum friends that I know was at the bottom of the lane waiting for me by her car, and I just could see it on her face, and I knew exactly what had happened. So what I'm trying to say here is that, with the current statistics, 1 in 7 of us is going to be diagnosed with breast cancer. And that's a crazy number of people. So again, do your checks, do them regularly. But I want to get back to my little Nancy Drew story. So those first 2 people that I talked about, the first one who had been posting on Instagram with her pictures of chemo and telling people to get checked, she was my housemate from when we were living in Brooklyn, in Greenpoint, in our 20s. This was 2002, 2003. And the second person who contacted me after I posted on Instagram and was saying, oh, I'm sorry you are going through this. I've just been going through this too. She was also my housemate in Brooklyn, in Greenpoint at the same time. All three of us lived together for 2 years in Greenpoint in this apartment, and all 3 of us were diagnosed with breast cancer at the same time. And then that third person who contacted me was also a roommate of mine, but not from there, from London. But it was just crazy. It's like, all right, there are four of us, and I've lived with all of you. You've all been my housemates, and you've all had breast cancer around the same time. But the weirdest thing was the two roommates from Brooklyn. Is there a reason we got breast cancer at the same time? Was there something in the flat that could have triggered it for us? Um, it just seems really, really too much of a coincidence. But then I talked to my surgeon about it. I mentioned it, and I was literally shaking with anxiety about it because when I talked about it with Amy and with Catherine, my two roommates, especially Amy and I, we immediately got very like, oh my God, there's something here. We've got to crack the case. We've got to figure out what this is. And we've got to uncover all the details and do our sleuthing. And it was quite exciting because it felt like, it's something that happened to us, right? It's not something about our bodies intrinsically. There's something external that happened to us. Do you know what I mean? And we were desperate to figure out like what does that cause? And desperate also because what if it's doing it to other people? What if the other people who lived in that flat, in that apartment after us, what if they all had increased risks of breast cancer because something that was there, maybe in the flat, maybe around the flat? And it's interesting because the area of Greenpoint that we lived in is the most polluted part of New York City, apparently. And there are multiple areas that are under investigation by the Environmental Protection Agency because of pollution from various things like I don't want to say nuclear waste, but lots of like chemical waste from factories, from like car metal factories, I don't know, all these different things, all these chemicals that were basically just dumped into the river and then seeped into the soil, into the waterways, and are off-gassing into people's apartments and causing cancer. So this is a known thing. So we were like, oh my God, this is it. This is the smoking gun. This is what gave it to us. And then when I talked to my surgeon, Uh, and when I talked to her, I was shaking with, like the excitement of the chase, I guess, the excitement of like this is a crazy story and I think we have an answer and it's big. And she just shook her head and she looked at me and she said, "No. The similarity, the thing that all three of you share is that you all have estrogen. That's it." And it made me think, oh, well, maybe she's right. Maybe it is just that 1 in 7 of us are going to get breast cancer, and the three of us just happen to be victims of this fate, and happen to fall in the same place at the same time, and then get diagnosed at the same time-ish. It just still doesn't pass the smell test, if you know what I mean. I wasn't satisfied. And of course, like the New York Times has had various articles. There's been all these articles about the increasing rates of breast cancer in young people. And why is that? And I've read some of these articles and they don't shed too much light. They don't know. They have um they have things that they're looking into, like, it's the plastics, microplastics, it's stress, it's lifestyle related. Um, and like I said, stress. Yes, that was me, Miss Stress Ball over here, and I'm still very easily stressed. Like my body just cannot handle things. And I'm working on that. I'm trying to change my body's intrinsic response to everything. I'm so hyper aware of when I get stressed out. And every single time I get stressed out, I'm like, oh God, no, you're going to give yourself cancer again, which isn't helpful because then you get anxiety about stress, which makes you more stressed. I'm very aware of this. But anyway, going back to my two housemates from Brooklyn, I contacted the person at the Environmental Protection Agency who was assigned to our area. And I got an email back within an hour, I think it was. It was very quick. which immediately made us think, up, we're on to something. They're afraid we're going to raise PR and they're going to be behind on this. They want to keep us in check. And we were invited to have a meeting with this person and with his assistant or somebody else working on it, which was great that he would meet with us. And we had a Zoom meeting. And what came out of it was basically that they were looking at flats, at apartments that were basement level. That's where the issue with this off-gassing of nuclear waste, not nuclear waste, whatever the waste product was, it was coming up through the ground and it was mostly affecting people in basement flats. We lived on the very top floor of the building, on the third story, I think. So that immediately was like, oh, okay, so this isn't applying to us, I guess, at least as far as they're telling us, right? Also, the areas that they were particularly looking at, the boundary of that area was basically our street or a street a little bit to the east of us. And so our area wasn't under an investigation. We were just 1 block away. So again, we we're like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't the smoking gun. Maybe we don't have this as our cause, as our external. Maybe it is just estrogen. But at the same time, what are they not telling us? Started to get very much true crimey on this. No, but not to spread any kind of false rumors or anything like that. It still kept us feeling uneasy, and it's kept me feeling uneasy. But we quickly got tired, I think, of this, of chasing an answer. And at least I started to focus more on my recovery. And instead of looking for answers, I wanted to fix the things that were potentially the cause internal. So again, like I said, instead of looking at the externals, which I was doing, trying to fix myself by getting a new career, by blaming toxic waste, I wanted to look internally at myself and my behaviors and how I hadn't been taking care of myself and how I hadn't been an advocate for myself the last 8 years while I had children, while I let myself get ground into the ground and not take care of myself, not stand up for myself. Because before that, health was my number one priority because I was so ill since I was a teenager, since I had my eating disorder kind of kicked off all of my bits of strange physical symptoms, from having Raynaud's, which is a circulation disorder. And my Pilates clients hate this. I have the coldest hands. They're often just turning blue. Yeah, and especially in the winter, it's just agonizing. But even in the summer, I have really cold hands, and I'll come up to them and I'll touch them in places to show them, like, this is where you should be feeling it. And they're like, ah. My children hate it, or they love it, because we play tag. And they're like, oh, the cold hands, the whole cold hands. And I'll get them under their shirt and touch their back with my cold hands, and they'll scream with delight or terror, mix of the two. Anyway, so I had Raynaud's, and then I had IBS, I had depression, I had chronic fatigue, ME. I have all these things building up from my teenage years, and it became very important to me to take care of myself because I could feel the difference when I exercised, when I ate well, when I considered food medicine. And food was very much medicine for me because I didn't have health insurance. I didn't have access to pharmaceuticals, and I didn't trust the pharmaceuticals and basically Western medicine to actually do the right thing. I didn't want to just be put on something that was going to suppress my symptoms, and no one seemed to want to get to the bottom of what my symptoms were. They just wanted to see the top layer and give me something to help with that. But I wanted to fix what was broken. And I've always been like that. I've always wanted to fix what's broken. So exercise. I did yoga since I was really young, like 13. I started to do yoga because my friend gave me this really funny 1960s paperback that she found someplace, which was a step-by-step month-long course in starting to do yoga in your bedroom. And so I started to do that, and I just fell in love with it because of what it did to my brain, I think. And I didn't know what it was doing, but I could feel it. I could feel this effects of having this space, and this kind of discipline was amazing as a 13-year-old. And I kept doing that for a long time. Or even if I wasn't doing it, it was informing me still, and my values and my desire to exercise. And then I found Pilates, and then food wise, I was constantly trying to figure out what was making me sick, what was giving me horrible IBS. And I did all of these diets that didn't work and aggravated it. And like once I fasted for 21 days. And the wonderful thing about that was that I didn't have any stomach aches. I think I was going a bit insane. I think I was definitely hallucinating. But it was a really interesting challenge. It was an interesting experiment, and I definitely got to the end of my tether. I'm like, I'm ready to eat now. And when I did eat, food tasted so amazing, explosively amazing, like all the flavors, and you could really feel how each thing affected you. And I found that really informative. And going back to what I was talking about last episode, it's all about becoming attuned and becoming aware and looking back at yourself and taking time to listen to yourself. And this is something that I've always appreciated. Like, I actually do have a really high level of interoception. Interoception is the sense of what your body feels like internally, being able to read it, being able to feel when I'm just about to get sick, feel when I'm getting stressed, feel when somebody is creeping me out, feel if something is upsetting my stomach or if I need to stretch something. I'm very attuned, and Pilates really helps with this, and yoga really helps with this. So I'm very grateful that I have this skill. But I would just say that I very much recommend everyone just start to think about that. Start to think about how aware they are of their body, how aware they are of of their interoception, the feelings within their body, the intuition of their body. Um, Now, going back to my friends and all my friends, all the people that have come out of the woodwork with breast cancer, I'll go back to my friend who is now my friend, who I met because my neighbor came to my door and said, my Pilates teacher now has breast cancer. And I met her. She was local, and she was terrified when I first met her because she had just been diagnosed, and she was a stage. She was further along. I can't remember which stage she was officially. But it's terrifying to look death down the muzzle of the gun, and to see like what could happen to have that experience all of a sudden give you a vision of what your future could look like, and you want to save yourself. Um, and that friend has been doing really well. And I think this year of cancer for her has been transformative, as much for her as it has been for me. And we got to know each other, and we go for walks, and I'm really grateful that cancer brought us together and we have a friendship. And it's made her stronger, and it's made her and her relationship stronger, all these things, just like I hope it's doing for me. Um, but then recently, I heard from my housemate from Brooklyn, who she went through so many problems, basically. And she ended up having a double mastectomy, and one of the mastectomies was rejected, or the reconstruction was rejected, so she had to do it twice. Was it twice, or was it 3 times? Anyway, which reminded me of the woman, if you remember, in the recovery ward where I was after my mastectomy, whose body rejected her reconstruction, and it was the third time, and they said they wouldn't be able to do it again. Um, and yeah, so much anguish to have to go through that. But this was happening to my friend, my old housemate from Brooklyn. And then I heard from her. And the thing is, when I was going through the breast cancer, she was there for me. She reached out and she had all the information. She's this amazing woman. She is amazing. She has a PhD from Princeton, and she is just the most tenacious person, and also one of the most kind and most generous of people that I can think of. Um, and for her to have to be going through breast cancer was just, I just hated that she had to go through this, because she was in a place where she didn't have a partner. She had been working abroad as a teacher, um, and she had lived in Germany, then New Zealand. And then when COVID happened, she came back to America before everything got locked down so she could be with her parents in Idaho through COVID. And at that time, our other housemate in New York, our old housemate, was diagnosed with her breast cancer, and she moved in with our other housemate to help her take care of her children while she navigated her treatment. I mean, she's so generous. And um, and then she was diagnosed herself, but she was between jobs. She didn't have insurance. So she had to go on Medicaid, and she had to move in with her parents. And basically render herself unemployable, uninsurable, because she was dealing with breast cancer. And it's just, as someone living in the UK with the NHS, where you are never discriminated against for the amount of money you have, your employment, you are always insured, you always have the NHS. This just made me feel so ill, because she's a model citizen. She is somebody who is the top of her game, extremely smart, like someone we should be extremely proud of to have as a citizen of the US. And yet, because she was caught between jobs, without insurance, without a partner, without a support system, happenstance, had thrown her into this situation where she had to move back in with her parents. She couldn't get a job. And she wanted to look for a partner. She wanted to settle down. She wanted to have a family. But now that was she's in her 40s. She was going to have her eggs frozen, and she couldn't now because of chemotherapy. Um, anyway, I could go on. So she had been going through all of this, had the double mastectomy. She had then had an ovarian cyst, which of course had been a scare, that terrifying that maybe she had ovarian cancer, but she didn't. It was just a cyst, and they operated on it. And then we didn't talk for a while. She had been like my guide through my cancer. She knew all the ins and outs of the medical side of everything, and you need to ask the doctors this and this and this, and just giving me somebody to talk to about it, somebody who was in the same boat. And then, like I said, I started to kind of focus on other things as I was coming out the other end of my recovery, focusing on looking inward and self-care and figuring out how to build myself back better than ever before and to take care of myself finally. And then recently I got an email from her basically saying she's sorry she has to tell me this, but she had now been diagnosed with breast cancer metastasis, which means that the breast cancer had gotten into her lymph system and had traveled someplace else in her body and had set up shop somewhere else, and had come up in her liver, and they were treating it as stage 4, which is terminal cancer. But there was a hint, there was potential that this could be something called oligometastasis, which means it's only actually shown up in one place, and it has not spread like seeds throughout the body. It's only in one place. And if that's the case, you can treat it as stage 3, as curable. But she was having a fight. She was up against the oncology team where she is in Idaho, and they seemed reticent to acknowledge this and to treat it any differently than stage 4, which was basically terminal. They had given her 3 to 5 years to live. They were going to put her on some hardcore drugs. They were going to shut down her ovaries so that she had no estrogen to feed her cancer. And they were just going to wait it out and see what happened. But she had this hope that if it's oligometastasis, it can be treated as curable. You can attack it like you would stage 3. You can give it radiation. You can give it chemo, and it'll take care of it. But because her oncology team in Idaho were reluctant to do this, she needed to get someplace else. She needed basically to get back to New York, where she had friends that she could stay with while she sought treatment somewhere else. And somewhere else would be MSK in New York, which is one of the leading cancer research hospitals in the world. But the problem now is she's on Medicaid, which is insurance, which is government insurance. And she needs to make sure that they'll accept her Medicaid. And so we've been stuck in this position. I keep checking in with her. I was really, really upset when I heard. I couldn't sleep for a week when I heard about her diagnosis, because of all people, she should not have to be going through this. Because again, it doubles down on the fact that she is unemployable. She can't get back to her life, to her purpose, to finding a partner. She's stuck living with her parents because she can't get a job. If she gets a job, first of all, they're not going to employ her if she has quote unquote terminal cancer. Secondly, she's uninsurable because she already has a pre-existing condition, which is terminal cancer. So it's an impossible situation. Impossible because this is how things are set up in America with the insurance companies. It just kills me that if she was living here in the UK or in the EU or in New Zealand still, that she would not be discriminated against because of the insurance she has. So now we're stuck in this cycle where she is trying to get to New York, but because of legislation that has gone in recently, she's in a very conservative state, and they've put in anti-abortion legislation. She's not allowed to call out of state to have any kind of conversations with a medical provider outside of the state in case she might be trying to get an abortion. So she can't call New York and talk to a doctor. So she needs to be referred by her GP. She needs to move over to New York, and she needs to be there in state getting help. But the problem is, even though Medicaid says MSK will take her insurance, MSK does not have it currently on the Dropbox menu on their website. So the GP cannot select it as her insurance, so she can't get there. She can't get an appointment with them unless somebody does the admin work of putting it on the Dropbox menu. So she has called the admin person at MSK, to request that he does this. But this person doesn't seem to think it's worth his while because it's too much admin. It's too difficult. It's just that one bit of annoyance that he doesn't have time to do. Even though Medicaid assures her MSK will accept them, it's up to this person to put it on the drop-down menu, and he is not doing it. And she has been bugging this said person for weeks and weeks and weeks. This one little thing which will save her. This is a life and death situation. She just needs Medicaid to be on the Dropbox menu so she can proceed, and she's being blocked. This is where we are left. This is what's been on my mind. This is what's been preying on my mind. And I feel like you might be as angry about it as I am. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted to tell you this little bit of my story that I haven't found time to talk about. Just the sheer number of people that have come out of the woodwork that have breast cancer, first of all. And I got a text just yesterday from my friend saying that her friend up north had just got a diagnosis of stage 2. And my friend wanted to know what she could do because she's so far away and she feels like she doesn't have, she can't be there for her friend in the way she wants to be. What could she send her friend? What would help her in this time? And I thought that was really lovely because it is really hard to think how we can help somebody going through this situation. When you're not going through it yourself, you don't know. And the answer is it's individual, isn't it? It'll always throw you into disarray, I assume, I imagine, whether you go into some kind of denial or you get angry, you get overwhelmed, whatever the emotions are, everyone will have their individual reaction to a diagnosis of breast cancer or cancer in general. But the thing I said to her is think about safety. Think about think about fostering safety for her. This feeling of being loved. Give her oxytocin. Give her love, trust, bonding. Make her feel safe because that's what you need. That's what we all need, and especially in a time where you feel like your life is out of your hands. Your life is being threatened. It's very easy to go into fear and survival mode, which causes stress, which will cause anxiety. So to just ease that, send her something that says you love her. Send her something that gives her an opportunity to give herself some self-care. And Dr. Tara says, sense, our senses is an amazing way to create a feeling of abundance, of care, of comfort. So I thought, scented candles, sending her a lovely box of chocolates or some kind of treat that that she loves, or a book on tape that she can listen to, something sense driven. That was my advice. And then I spent this morning texting my friend in Idaho, getting all up in arms when I heard again that this person at MSK is not responding. This person who just needs to make Medicaid an option on the drop-down box. How can we get around this person? How can we get this person to do this one thing that is going to be life or death? This is going to help her. And I've been thinking about this all morning as I was doing the dishes, and I was taking my anger out on the dishes and texting her, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? And then I thought, you know what? I want to put this out there. I want to put all this out there to my friends. First of all, because again, this is me telling you again to check your boobs. Check your boobs, check your boobs. Get your wife's boobs checked. Get your sister's boobs checked. Whoever is listening to this, encourage people to be vigilant. You can catch it like me, catch it early. And secondly, if you have a friend who has breast cancer, the odds are you might know somebody, give them your love, give them oxytocin. That's all you can do. I had another friend about 12 years ago now who died of pancreatic cancer. And it haunts me to this day because I did not handle that situation well. He was a friend from drama school. He was, again, one of these lights of the world, this beautiful, cheery, happy, smiley person who brought joy with him wherever he went and danced amazingly and sang amazingly. And he didn't have any health insurance, and he discovered his cancer when he was home with his parents for Christmas in is it Oklahoma? In Oklahoma, I think it was. And he again couldn't get the care that he needed, or perhaps it was just that there wasn't going to be care enough because it was pancreatic cancer. And when I learned about that, I didn't know what to do and I became paralyzed. And I just shut down and I kept putting off talking to him because I was too scared of the situation. I didn't know how to talk to him. And then he died. And I hadn't given him the comfort and the love that I had wanted to give him. And I still think about that a lot to this day. And I don't want that to happen with anybody else. So give people love, give people comfort by just showing them that you're thinking of them, that you are there, that you are. The other thing that I learned was that studies have shown that a text does not release any oxytocin, any love hormone, any bonding hormone, but a voice message or a video message can. And someone pointed out to me, it depends who the message is from and who's talking and for how long. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's true. If somebody's rambling to you and complaining to you, maybe that's not going to release any oxytocin. But just know that sending a little voice memo, a short little voice memo, can release oxytocin for somebody. We'll show them that you love them more than a text message. So another little neuroscience tip there. All right, I'm going to leave you guys with this episode. And like I always say, please, if you're enjoying this podcast, like, follow, subscribe. Pressing the follow button really, really helps me because, yeah, I can't get bigger unless I can show that people are actually listening and want to keep listening. So it really helps me out. And it keeps the home fires burning. Next episode, I'm going to get back to my story and I'm going to be talking about attention. I'm going to be talking about attention, which is a powerful tool that we're going to use in manifesting the life we want. This is something that Dr. Tara says is the next step. So we talked about safety, creating safety, self-care, that's building that abundant mindset. That's the cure to lack thinking, the first cure. The second is just starting to be aware. And I talked about this in the last episode. Building your ability as a skill set to be aware of yourself, what you're thinking, your emotions, your logical brain, your heart, your emotional self, but also pay attention to your gut instincts, those little things that are ticking on in the background that are just talking to you in the background. You're like, ooh, my intuition says no. My intuition says, oh yes, that's a good idea. Start listening to your gut. And along with your gut, listen to your body, listen to your interoception, listen to the feelings inside of your body telling you, oh, you're coming down with a cold. You should rest today. You should prioritize rest as opposed to hitting the treadmill. You should just lie down and read a book. You got to start listening to that voice as well. So this is awareness. And Dr. Tara says, do this for months. Do this for months. Do nothing about it. Just start to get attuned. Start to become aware. So that's what we talked about last episode. And I'm going to continue to talk about that. And then I'm going to bring in the science, the neuroscience around our attention, around our ability to focus, our ability to feel motivated. All of these things are going to start to work and move us towards our identity, building a true sense of who we are, who we've been, but also who we want to be, a picture of who we want to be, the future we want to have, and how we get that future. We can do it. We can manifest it. So that's where we're going. Next episode, please come back and listen, and I'll be talking to you again soon. All right, take care of yourself. Give yourself some self-care. Burn some nice candles, have a nice little refreshing recovery walk in nature, and I'll see you next time. May the welly be with you. Bye.